Okay, so the intro then for Heretic by Avenged Sevenfold, we're going to start with that heavy crunch sound, which is pretty much going to be the same sound that we go all the way through this song with. And at the start, the intro fades in, which means there's a slight issue with timing. So the way I've written this out to kind of compensate for that fade in where you can really start to hear the notes is the first bar's in 4/4, second bar's in 3/4, and then from then on we stay in 4/4. So that timing there is just to kind of compensate for the way you feel and the way you hear that faded in intro. So, the start part then, bar number 1, we're going to have 2 down picks on the open D string, then 7th fret on the same string, back to 2 open notes, then the 8th fret, and then 2 open notes. And for those quavers, of course, we're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then moving into bar 2, we've got the 3/4 bar. That idea continues. 1 and is 7 to open, then 0, and then first finger on 5, third finger on the 7. So just that bar number 2 would be bar 1 and 2 together, 3, 4. Then into bar number 3. We're going first finger's going to go to the 3rd fret of the A string. Little finger's going to stretch over to get that 7th fret back on the D. Now you don't have to hold these notes down at the same time. In fact, that wouldn't be a good idea because they're going to ring together, which is just going to mess the sound up here and it's going to create a really muddy sound. So we don't want them to ring together. So your first finger's going to play the 3rd fret. It's going to maybe not lift completely off the string, but lift the pressure up certainly. Little finger plays the 7th fret and then open. Then we repeat that, so 3, 7, 0, and then for 4 and 3, again with the first finger, 5 with the 3rd. So bar number 3, 3, 4, and then to bar number 4, open string to start, first finger is still on the 3rd fret, 3rd finger can still do the 5, followed by an open string. So that's. And then for the last part, 3rd on the A string. And you got a choice here. You could either just do one finger with the 3 to 2 on the D string, or maybe bring in your 2nd finger to work in combination there. Either would work. So if we play bar 1 through to bar 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, on to bar 5. First finger is now going back to the 2nd fret of the A string. Little finger is going to do the 5th fret on the D. So, open string to finish there, that group of 3. And then we're going to do that same group again. And of course, 2, 5 at the end. So just bar 5, 3, 4. And into bar 6, open D string. 2nd finger is still going to play. Sorry, first finger is going to play the 2nd fret of the A string. And then with the 2nd finger, I'm going to do the 3 and the O. That group again. And into bar 7, first finger is going to reach back to the 1st fret. Little finger is going to do the 5 on the D string. Again, we don't want those notes to ring, creating that mess of sound. We just want to lift off the pressure after we've done with the note. So my little finger's gone to 5 there. First finger remains at the 1st fret, but then when I want to get this 3, I'm going to use my 3rd finger. So here's bar 7, 3, 4. Finishing with the open A string and 3rd fret on the D. And into the final bar, bar 8 of the intro, 2 open strings. Bit of right hand muting needed there to, again, stop those notes ringing into each other. Then 2nd fret on the D. And I was using 2 fingers there at the end. And the last note is going to be a pinched harmonic. So remember, for a pinched harmonic, you're going to hold the note. And as you pick it, we're turning our pick kind of slanted downwards, diagonally downwards across the string, really picking hard. And as you pick, the side of your thumb scrapes the string. It touches the string on the way through. And that's that whistling sound. So the harder you pick and you make sure your thumb touches the side, you'll get that sound. So here's the whole intro. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that pinched harmonic at the end could always be a bit hit or miss. I'm not the best at pinched harmonics. It's not really in my wheelhouse, so if you've been a practice, you'll be able to hit it a bit more consistently maybe than I would. But there's the intro. Okay, so the first verse then, I've marked on the tab at bar 9. This is where the drums enter, which is true, but it could also just be labelled the first verse as well. So this riff is going to repeat 4 times. So we start at bar 9 with some offbeat notes, 7th fret of the D string, 8th fret of the D string, and then we're going to move down to 5 and 7 on the D strings. So they're off beats because they're all happening on the ands of the beat. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and it's the second of each that ring longer. So you have a short note then a long note. So we'll just do those 2 bars together. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and then we have our first power chords. Remember, because of our tuning, the power chords are just 1 fingers. So 2nd fret into the 3rd fret and then open. And they're palm muted. And then there's a whole bar of rest at the end of the phrase. So we've got that whole line together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And that riff would then proceed to repeat 4 times, and then when it crops up later on in the song for verse 2, it is the same again. Alright, so on to the next section. Okay, so the pre-chorus then, I've picked the high sequenced arpeggio part. There are some power chords and things going on in the background, but I believe this to be the more interesting part, that if you're going to learn to play this song, this is probably the one you want to go for. So we're starting with this sort of D arpeggio, or D minor arpeggio, and we're starting on the high E string, 5th fret, 6th fret, just going back and forth between those notes, 1 and 2, and then on the and of 2, coming down a string. You see that then forms a D minor chord, so 1, then we start going back up the arpeggio, so the whole thing. Then we're going to lead us into this B flat type of phrase. So then I'm going to go up to the 8th fret, still on the high E string, and we're going to play 8, 6. Then going to flatten out my finger, going to roll it over to the B string to get that 3rd note. Then next finger is going to come in and get the 7th fret, and then the 3rd finger is going to get the 8th fret. So by that point, that's where we've formed our B flat arpeggio. And then we're going to return back up the strings. So the whole thing there for bar 26. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So bar 25 and 26 together. 3, 4. Then we get into this sort of G arpeggio. It's going to form a G chord with a in the D shape, if you know about your K system. But here we're going to start 1st finger. Just 1st and 2nd fingers get those first 3 notes. Back up the arpeggio. Then 7 with the 1st finger, 8 with the 2nd finger, and then I'm going to use my little finger to get that 10th fret. And they all come back off, and I return to my 1st finger for the last 7. So with counting, bar number 27, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now bar 25, 26 and 27 put together. 3, 4. Then we're going to bar 28. So here I'm going to move my first finger over to the 8th fret, and it's going to roll across to get those first 2 strings. Then second finger comes in for the 9th fret, and like before, we're going to go back up the arpeggio. But now, second finger is going to go to the 9th fret, and then I'm going to use my second finger, third finger for the 9 and 10, and then little finger on 12, and first finger back at the 9. So just the end of that pattern for beats 3 and 4 and would be 3 and 4 and that whole bar. Bar 28. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now that whole line, 25 through 28. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And on to the next line, similar thing starts to happen with our arpeggios. We go back to the D, and now we're going in bar 29. First finger is going to be at the 10th fret, and we can actually roll it across the top 3 strings to get those first 3. Make sure it rolls again. We don't want them all ringing out at the same time. So by kind of rolling your first finger across, you can get each note with one finger, but they won't ring together. And then roll it back the other way to get back up the arpeggio, and then third finger at 12, little finger at 13, and first finger at 10. So and then third finger is going to go down at the 12th fret. This is now leading us into bar 30 for the B flat arpeggio again. Third and first finger get the first 2 notes, and then second finger gets the 11th fret, first finger gets the next 10, third finger now gets 12, just that sequence, and then we just go back on each of those fingers, each of those notes, to get us back to the top. So bar 30, 3, 4, and then I'm going to shoot up to the 15th fret with my little finger, and it's going to roll over the high E and the B. First finger is then going to do the 12th fret, so that'll be, and then first finger now rolls over the next 3 notes, and back again. And little finger gets the last note at 15, so. So that rolling technique can take a little bit of time, but it's really worth it for a sequence like that. It makes it so much smoother and more straightforward to play. And in the final bar, bar 32, we have this really cool little run that leads us into the chorus of the song. So little finger's now going to go to 17. Just put myself over a little bit here. So 17 with a little finger, 14 with the first finger, second finger on 15 on the G string, little finger now over to 17 on the D string, and then we're going to return to that 15th fret with the second finger. So, and the final 3 notes, 17, 15, 14, I'm going to go little finger on the D string, second finger, and ending the phrase on my first. So that was. And that final bar there is played in harmony. That's just one side. For this whole part, I've stuck to the left side harmony. I'm not sure which of the guitar players that is playing that, but for consistency for this part and the tab and this video, I've stuck, when all the harmony parts happen, I've stuck to the left-hand side of the mix. So either using software, you can isolate the left-hand side, or if you're listening on headphones, just take off the right headphone and it'll be a little bit easier to hear that harmony because they're panned hard left, hard right, which is a really great stereo effect. Okay, so let's just play the whole pre-chorus through. That's 25 through to 32. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to have to get off that last note pretty quickly back down here with our hand, although we do have an open string at the very start of the chorus that's going to act as the transition note. Okay, so let's do the chorus for the first time in the song. Okay, so chorus number 1 then, this is bar 33 going through to bar 40, and on the tab the lines do cross the pages, but there are repeat marks around them, so the 2 lines of this chorus will be played twice. Okay, so very similar to the intro riff, we're on the D string, playing quavers 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and is our counting all the way through this, and the riff is pretty much the same, but we're going to play open string and not going to have 2 of them, we're actually just going to have 1 of them, and then straight to the 7th fret. And we're staying in 4/4 here. Then we get that next phrase. Same as we did for this is bar 35, same as we did in the intro, first finger going down to the 3rd fret on the A string and little fingers at the 7. But remember, we don't want to let those notes ring. You're just going to lift up the pressure once you're done with the 3rd fret, keeping all the notes nice and separated and very clear. And we keep that phrase going, open D string, this is bar 36, then 3, 5/0, and so first line of the chorus, 3, 4. On to bar 37, again, like we did in the intro. First finger is now at the 2nd fret of the A string. Little finger does the stretch to 5. Again, be sure to lift up the pressure, don't let those notes ring. And then into bar 38. So I'm going to use my 2nd finger now for that 3rd fret note. There. So bar 38, 3, 4. And then bar 39, again my first finger is going to go right back to the 1st fret, little finger stretches to 5. Then for this 3rd fret note, 3rd finger. So just bar 39, 3, 4. And the last bar for the A phrase, 2 open strings. Again, be careful of your right hand muting there. So there's our difference compared to the intro. The end of this phrase in bar 40, we're playing 2 to 3 on the D string, and then 4th fret on the A string. So bar 40, 3, 4. And that's just a normal pick note, it's not a pinched harmonic anymore. And then that whole line would go again. So if we just play the whole chorus through slowly, I'm going to do this once, even though it does go twice on the song. So here it is once. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that would all go around again. So chorus 1 and chorus 2 are the same in those riffs. Okay, on to the next part. Okay, so the end of chorus 2 leading into the bridge of this song, where it goes half time, there's this little guitar break, a little 2-bar run, where again the guitar plays in harmony. This is bar 61 and 62 on the tab. And this is another phrase that's played in harmony. Again, I've picked the left side of the harmony to show here. Okay, so we're still playing quavers, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we are going from the 4th fret of the A string with our first finger to the little finger at the 7th fret. Next string down, it's kind of up and over, or down and over, depending on which way you're looking at the guitar. We're going 5th fret on the D, 8th fret on the D. Then we actually play those 2 notes again. So the sequence so far, 1 and 2 and 3 and for 4 and, we're going to the 6th fret of the G string, back to the D at the 8th fret, and the final note we're jumping to the 9th fret of the G. We're going to hit that, hold that, for 3 beats, and then right at the end, a little half bend up and down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Just very slight. Okay, so that whole phrase together. Bar 61, 62, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And the only thing missing now is palm muting. So that first phrase, everything except that 9th fret note is palm muted. So 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. So that's the break. That is going to get us into the bridge, which starts with this halftime feel. Okay, so the bridge of this song starts at bar 63, and this goes through to 70 on the tab, and it's marked halftime feel. That's really just a change in what the drums are doing, but it does change the feel of the song quite a lot. But we have this cool single note heavy riff that goes through it. So we're starting on our open D string. Remember, we're tuned down to drop D. So open D string for 3 beats, and then on beat 4, we're going to play that 2nd fret. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Into bar 64, we're moving up to the 3rd fret. That's going to ring for 2 beats, and then I'm going to fan my fingers out. So I'm going 1st finger on the 3rd fret, 2nd finger on the 5th fret, little finger on the 7th. So that bar 64. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 2 bars together. 63 and 64. Then little finger goes over to the 8th fret. And then to get me into bar 66, we strike that note again, and I've dropped down to my 3rd finger on the 7th fret. And to finish that run, we're going all the way down that bottom string, 7, 5, 3, 2. And that would be 3 and 4 and. So if we play 63 through to 66, that forms the whole line. 3, 4. Okay, and then onto the bar below, so 67 through to 70 now. It starts a very similar way. The first 2 bars are in fact the same. Then we're still going to transition up to that 8th fret. But now, once we've dropped to 7, this is in bar 70, we're now going to have some slight difference. We're going to have a minim, 2 beats on that 7th fret. 1, 2, and then we're going to go from that 7th fret to the 4th fret of the A string. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's just put the whole of those 2 lines, 63 and 70, together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, into the guitar harmonies. Okay, so we're now at bar 71, and we're going to go through 78 in this section. I've called this part on the tab guitar harmonies, and I've marked it on there as well that this is the left hand harmony as well. So we're starting with a slide into the 7th fret on the G. Oh, sorry, that was 9, 7th fret. And it's not really telling you where to start the slide, but the golden rule is normally 1 or 2 frets below. In this case, I'm going to go to the 5. We're going to slide up into 7. We're going to hold that. Then we're going to re-slide up into 10. So, and then we're going to pick 9 and 10 for beats 4 and. So just that first bar, 71. 3, 4. That note's then going to hold. Then on the 3rd beat, we're going to pick it again. And we do the same phrase again. You'll notice that I'm not really putting any vibrato in here, just for the sake of demonstration, for the notes to be clear and as easy to hear as possible. You can put your own feel on with vibrato. So 3, 4. That gets us the first 2 bars. And we're going to, in bar 73, we're going to pick this 10th fret again on beat 3. And then cross the strings to the B string with the 8th fret. and then back down to 9. So up to that point, so I'm going to play 71 through 73. 1, 2, 3, 4. And to finish that line in bar 74, we're again going to pick that 10th fret on beat 3. But this time we're going to do a descending phrase, so it's 9 on the G and 7th fret. So now 71 through 74. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on the next line in bar 75, we're going to hold this note. And really the phrase starts all over again, everything we just played, except in bar 78 when we get back to the A phrase, where we've just played this 9th fret. And then on beats 2, we're going to slide into 10, then pick 8, that's on the B string, and then 9 and 10 on the G. So just that final phrase. Okay, let's put all of that together then. So this is bar 71 on the tab through to 78. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, into the next section. Okay, so now we're at bar 79 on the tab, and we're looking here at 79 through to 86. So this is where things clean up and soften up in the song a little bit. I've marked it bridge on the tab. There's a big acoustic picking part here. That's not what I've written out, although that part is incredibly cool. We're actually just going to play these held single notes. So it's on a clean sound. So all I've done here is not actually change my sound. I've just switched pickup selections. I'm now going to go to the neck pickup on my Telecaster. I'm going to roll the tone back a bit. I'm going to roll the volume down a bit. And we're still holding that 10th fret from the previous section where we had that held lead harmony. So while you're holding that note, that gives you a chance to kind of adjust these settings a little bit. And then the first note you're really going to pick is at bar 80 on the F chord. And a combination of turning the sound, you know, the pickup selection and the volume down, and then picking much lighter, as you can hear, the sound is much softer than it was before. So we're going to pick a semi-breve on the 7th fret of the D string, and then in bar 81, the 8th fret on the same string, and we re-pick that 8th fret just before we move back down to the 7. So bar 80, 1, 2, 3, 4, 81, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then into 82, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next line is very similar, 83, 7th fret on the G now, 4 beats. Above that, 4 beats on the D string, 7th fret, and then the last two phrases are the same, 8th fret, this is bar 85 on the D string, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll do that all the way through. I'm going to do this from bar 80 through to 86 on the tab. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as that last note is ringing, you've got a chance to wind the volume back up, and if you did change it, change your pickup selection, because at 87, and you'll see it on the tab, that it's marked lead, so we're back to our full-on lead sound as we were before. And the harmony again continues here, so let's dive into that. Okay, so bar 87 with these continued lead harmonies. Again, this is the left hand side of the mix. So I'm back to my full-on distortion sound, just back to bridge pickup, and the volume and tone controls are now at full. So we're starting here, 7th fret on the G string, and then from there 7 again, and we're going to the 9th fret. So 1, 2, 3, And then I'm going to move, instead of using my little finger, I'm actually going to move my third finger to the 10th fret. And that's going to set me up for the rest of bar 88. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you see, by playing that 10th fret with my third finger, it's allowed me to cross the strings on my first. And then for the next 10th fret on the B string, third finger's come down for that. And then again, I'm going to shift my third finger up to the 11th fret. This is in bar 89. And then we're going to pick and move that 11th fret down to 10. And in the final bar of that line, we're going to play 3 and 4 and, so that's quavers. And again, we're going to alternate here 10 to 8th fret. And I'm going to use my third and my first finger to do it. So, and the final note, second finger is going to play that 9th fret. So first line then of this section, so 87 through to the end of that line, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And down onto the next line, bar 91. This is going to go 91 through 94 now. So we're starting very similar, 7th fret. But on the next time, I'm just going to do a little slide into that 7 when we repick it. So bar 92, that's the same as bar 88. And then 93, we're again going to go up to that 11th fret. I'm going to do that on my third finger. Repick it and drop to 10. And the end of this phrase now, this is bar 94. And the end of this phrase is now slightly different. So we've picked this note, 1, 2, and 3. Picked it 2 more times. And then we're going to jump up to the 9th fret high E. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And that note rings over 4. Okay, now let's put that whole together. So this is going to go at bar 87 on the tab through to 94. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, into the next section. Okay, so the guitar solo part, then I've actually written out the rhythm part that goes underneath the guitar solo. To keep this part as playable and as straightforward as possible, we can do the solo at a later date. So here in 95, we're going to go on a D power chord, open strings, for 2 beats, and then we're going to have this palm muted phrase for 3 E and and then 2 to 3 for an E to an F power chord. Remember, these are just 1 finger shapes because of our drop D tuning. And that's 2, 3, and 4. So those 2 bars together, 95, 96. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then 97, more traditional looking power chord because I've dropped down strings. So our tuning doesn't affect this now. This is a B flat power chord. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And on the and, I'm going to move to the open A power chord here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 2. And for 3 and 4 and, we're going to do this kind of, it's implying like an A over C sharp type thing. 4th fret with the first finger on the A string. Little finger at 7 on the D. So we've already come to our A power chord, and then we're going to go 2 and 3 and 4 and 2. So that whole line put together, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2. And now without the counting, a little bit faster, 3, 4. And that same line would repeat over 4 times underneath the guitar solo. Okay, so just to add to that, the only phrase that does differ from what we just did is actually in bar 110 on the tab. It's just the way the phrase ends. So instead of going from an A power chord to this kind of A over C sharp, we'll actually hit the A power chord and we can do a single note 9. So I'm just alternating there from the 4th fret of the A string, second fret with the first finger on the D string, back to the 4th fret. So just alternating. That's the only phrase that differs though. So just to play that last line, this would be 107 on the tab through to 110. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then we're going to be back into some guitar harmonies. Okay, so this section then I've called this Guitar Harmonies 2, and what they're playing here is loads of sweep picking, lots and lots of arpeggios. Again, I've focused on the rhythm guitar parts here. So this is bar 111. We're going through to 118, but 118, 119 are sort of this break where there's this harmonized lead line. So on the tab here, you'll see that it's a 2-bar rest. Okay, so this section then for the chords, we're playing standard power chord shapes here. D power chord, 5 and 7. These are all in quavers, so the whole counting is always going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So our D bar, down to B flat, G over B, just bringing that first finger in by a fret there to the 3rd, gets us the C power chord at bar 114. Now that only goes half the bar, 1 and 2 and then we're going to bring that finger in again to get the next chord. So that whole line, 3, 4. Back to the D power chord again. This is now 115. We're going to do a tight stop in bar 118 on that C power chord, and that's where this diminished run that's harmonized would then happen between the two guitars. So we're going to jump from that stop part into the very last chorus of the song, which is going to be the same as it was earlier in the song. So I'm going to jump over that and we're just going to head to the ending. Okay, the ending then, right at the end of the tab, 128 through to 130. We've had this phrase earlier in the song. It was kind of the break after the first chorus, or maybe it was the second chorus, that we're going to have this kind of diminished phrase and we're palm muting it. It's this phrase. I'll play it for you once. And we're going to end with a open D chord. Okay, so just to recap this phrase then, if you're not sure about it, we've got A string, 4 to 7. These are palm muted. Next string down, 5, 8, 5, 8. And then 6 on the G string. Back to 8 on the D. And we're finishing with the 9th fret on the G. That's the only note that's not palm muted. So 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. And then remember at the end of this phrase, we're going to do a quick little bend and release on that 9th fret, followed by 2 beats on an open D chord. And then a tight mute because the drums cut us off. So just that ending phrase, one more time together. 3, 4. And that's the end of the song.